Hello and welcome to Scorecard here on Citi TV. There's a lot to talk about. It's already been a busy sporting week, and of course, there's a lot to digest. We've got all the videos for you, plus some awesome analysis on this platform. Again, I am Bernard Abeko-Otri. The numbers for you to be interacting on will be, there on the screen. Make sure you get or stay interactive here with us. And of course, there's a lot more talk after this break. I'll come introduce you. My guests are ready. Then, of course, there's more. Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Citi TV, and there's a lot to digest on. From the 13th African Games, we will talk about Accra Hearts-of-Oak. What really happened? And, of course, we'll zoom into the foreign front and pick some few interesting games and talk about us. So my guests are ready. Yao Ampofo with us here in the studio. Yao, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
That's solid. I was a sports analyst, and of course, my guy, Safu Kwame Hineba, Esquire.
It was.
I know you're a big guy, and everything's solid.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now let's get into it straight away. Now, the 13th African Games happened here in the country, and of course, we had a lot of hopes, on Ghana to win a lot of gold medals, but. Fortunate for us, we got a number, double number in terms of, the gold we wanted to amass. But the position with which, we placed on the table in terms of rating the African countries. And for me to see a Northern African country behind Ghana, it meant we did something good, isn't it? Even though we didn't have enough time to put ourselves together, we had few issues when we commenced the whole event. Let's get a glimpse of what the real detail is. We go for, the report that was gathered by us, the sports team here, and when we return, there's a lot more to talk about in the 13th African Games.
After a thrilling weeks of big highs and barely any lows, hearts were crushed, dreams were made, and smiles were seen as wide as the ocean and medals. Tons of them won by athletes for self and national pride. One could not have asked for a better African Games tournament, as curtains draw down in style with a spectacular closing ceremony at the University of Ghana Stadium. At the end of the tournament, Team Ghana picked up over 65 medals, of which 19 were gold. The highlight of Ghana's impressive display came when, on Friday, March 22, the country picked up 9 medals, of which 8 were gold. The likes of Rose Yeboah, Joseph Paul Amoah, Evans Kadman Yamoah, and Samuel Thechi all picked up gold medals, hoisting high the flag of Ghana. At the end of the ceremony, Citi News caught up with some of the spectators to have an understanding of how they saw the tournament and if the Ghanaian athletes performed to their satisfaction.
I know there will be a hitch here and there, but so far it has been good. And me being a tutor, bringing my students to come and watch how things are done and how things are organized, I feel so privileged to be here. And I think we are doing well as Ghanaians. We are doing well. The next one, if Ghana should host this, I believe we'll go places.
How's the experience been like for you?
Boring. Well, I've seen interesting ones, like the duel between Ghana and Nigeria, and I think it's been nice. That part of it, the competition part of it has been nice. But this part hasn't been nice. It's been very stressful getting here.
Wow. Getting here?
Yes, here.
Why? What happened?
Just a lot of walking, going here and there, no seats, that's all.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, considering Ghana has not gotten a lot of medals in the past, I think they've done well.
You've watched the African Games, TV here. What's your fair assessment of the whole tournament?
Oh, it's been nice though. It's been nice. Everything went like planned. Everything was well planned and everything. And what do you say, the participants or the players, and they did very well. They did their part, and it was nice. That's what I can say. It's nice.
What do you make of the Ghanaian performance?
Oh.
119 gold medals, some silver medals, and some bronze medals.
Oh, it's not easy to go that far. It's not easy to go that far. I understand they put in their all, but yeah, you train, but maybe your competition or those you are competing against, it depends.
Ghana Sports Minister Mustafa Youssef expressed his delight in the performance of the Ghanaian athletes at the tournament.
by the unwavering commitment of our government and the personal commitment by Mr. President toward the success of this game, Accra 2023. From a difficult and unworldly impossible situation, we are here today for the closing ceremony, having delivered the best and the biggest and the most exciting African Games in the history, with 29 sporting disciplines, with 9 venues, over 5,000 elite athletes, 3,000 technical officials, 2,000 guests, over 3,000 volunteers, as well as an estimated 2 billion global viewing audience who follow the games on television and online. This is the most successful African Games ever in terms of medal won. Prior to this game, Ghana has also registered the best performance at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. And at the last Olympic Games in Tokyo, Ghana won a medal for the first time in 30 years. This is also the first time the African Games has been beamed on Super Sports. The game has also saw participation of several young athletes at the elite level, some as young as 9 years. The future of sports on the continent is very bright. In conclusion, let me once again express Ghana's pride in hosting the rest of Africa.
The president of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in his address, thanked the continent for coming to join the festival and believes the country has hosted the best ever African Games.
I urge all of us to continue to harness the power of sport as a force for positive change, promoting peace, tolerance, and understanding among all peoples. I extend my warmest wishes.
Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Citi TV. And of course, you watched that report on the sports team, in relation to the 13th African Games. I mean, for me, it was special. I look at the medal table, and I feel we should be proud, first of all, as Ghanaians.
Yeah, I think we did well. We came up short in the earlier stages, but in the latter part of the event, I think Ghana pulled up a bit.
Maybe you want to talk about the opening ceremony as well.
Yeah, so the opening ceremony was spectacular. I watched it for myself. Was on the ground.
We began with Shatawale.
Shatawale, I felt it could be more than just an opening ceremony anyway. I felt it could have been a festival on the day, even for the closing ceremony as well. It could have been a festival which will walk through the night because people wanted more.
Absolutely.
And so you should have given them more. Make it something Africa has never seen before. After all, we say Ghana is a gateway to Africa. And
that's it.
We are big on tourism. We are big on entertainment, music. So give them something they've never seen before. The athletes didn't sleep during the night. They were out partying. So give them on the pitch. Give them something that they'll have a feel of. That's basically the part where I felt, okay, if it's closing ceremony, people want to go to bed. But when they want more, give them more.
First of all, I mean, it's about how we were pressed with time to put this together, and then we started, showing something spectacular for the opening ceremony. I mean,
here's going to be kind. He'll be very kind with his words, but I think we need to be honest with ourselves as a people.
What was it? Yeah, you tell me.
Prior to, it's like all of a sudden people have forgotten that we had these journalistic pieces on whether the stadiums were ready.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a last-minute African thing or it's a last-minute Ghanaian thing. We struggled, finally got it done. But if we are going to be very honest with ourselves, apart from the opening ceremony, which I don't even think the opening ceremony had taken shape like how things had taken shape as of Friday. Apart from the opening ceremony, we were struggling in the earlier. True. And I don't want to see, this is the thing. If you state facts in this country, you are termed negative energy.
Yeah.
Be positive for once. I think the African Games had the positives and negatives. I'm sure as the program goes on, we will reflect on some of the positives that came out of this game. But let's be very honest with ourselves. The first few weeks, and this is not like something that happened 10 years ago. This was like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
We were struggling. Light toughs at stadiums. Bicycles. They were saying what the bicycles. Aluminium bicycles. Shout out to my bicycle driver at Taifa. My bicycle repairer at Taifa. It's called Eja. I was having like, hey, I didn't know bicycles had aluminium and whatnot, but apparently all these things. But I feel like as time went on, we started learning. And big shout out to every journalist everywhere. You see, the truth is, they do listen. the people in charge do listen. And there's no way they are not listening to what Coach Nimley is saying.
Absolutely.
They do listen.
Absolutely.
So I believe also that people in charge, being the sports ministry, they do not want a bad reputation for ourselves. But one thing we must admit that in the earlier stages, we struggled a bit. I mean, big shout outs to them and big kudos to them.
The LOC as well.
The LOC. But you see, and again, this is the thing. How long did we know we were going to host this?
Yeah, I mean, Ghana and last minute issue.
We've known for a very long time that we were going to host it. So
magic.
you would think that your best foot will be put forward on the first week. But there's this thing that we learned, and that is where I will give them the props.
I think that should be our favorite proverb when we consider the 30th African
and that's why I'll give them. That's why I'll give them their props that they actually learned. They listened. When they began with free. They were charged. I remember you have to pay 150.
Yeah.
So I started making this calculation. So for every event I go for, I would have to pay 150 cedis, or 250 cedis, or 100 cedis. How feasible is that going to be? Because
true though.
After they made free entry, I went to like 5-6 events to watch up, and I was thinking,
so
I'm actually I was going to spend like that wasn't fair. So kudos to them for listening, because in as much as they would not want to admit, or people would not want to admit it, the huge numbers has a very big correlation to the free gates they were giving out.
True.
I don't think people were going to go. Maybe people were going to go, but people were not going to go in their numbers like they had. Stadiums were not going to fill. The Accra Sports Stadium was full on Friday. When I say full,
like full.
It was very full.
I saw scenes from the Cape Coast Stadium.
It was very full.
I mean, full.
The average income of a Ghanaian is not going to get you 150 cedis.
True.
I don't think people were going to afford the amount they were charging. So a very big kudos.
But there was 50 cedis too, though.
So that was a part that wasn't propagated properly. I think when it comes to the promotion of the African Games before the tournament started, it was very poor.
True.
It had to dawn on journalists to start propagating. Within the negatives were the fact that the journalists themselves were promoting the games. Because people were hearing, Ghana's bicycle is broken. What's happening?
True.
What's happening? So within the negative PR was the fact that people got to know the African Games is even happening. And that's the bit. I saw families trooping into the Botema Sports Complex. Families, like, everyone comes to the venue, and it's not one person. It's a family of 4 or 5. So I asked myself, 500 cedis is unrealistic. They should have broken it down into subjects where people will say, okay, if I go with my family, it's 100 cedis. What do I get? I get a bottle of Bell Cola. I get a bottle of, just make it.
I think it was only at the Legon, the University of Ghana Stadium, that journalists were even served. For example.
So there is that bit.
At the other venues,
at the Botema complex, I think
too?
There was a bit of motivation for the fans who were cheering Ghanaian on.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a bit in certain games where Ghana was down, and the fans brought up the energy. So we saw people giving them stuff to keep it up.
Okay.
So that was really good. I think I'll touch on a big part of fan chanting and the whole fan culture, because I think it's a big thing that we missed in the African Games. I'll talk about it in maybe later, because for me it's a big thing that we missed out on. There are different ways in which we can cheer people on, not the same straight jacket like we used to do. So back to the family bit, I thought families came around. It was almost like a tour venue for people at the Botema. They came to see swimming. Swimming was fully packed. So back on the issue of ticketing, I think given the fact that there are main events and then there are sub-events, so the sub-events could be the heat. People should come and watch the heat for free. But in the final, where you have Abeko Jackson competing, every Ghanaian wants to see Abeko Jackson performing magic. 4x100 or the relays is a big thing for every Ghanaian. That's where we get our energy from. Everyone wants to cheer the team on. We can make differences with those are main events that the LOC could have picked money from, which they didn't. And so I think the latter parts, the VVIPs were paying huge amounts to come and see the games. But that's a different bit. Imagine if you have a VIP of 50 to 100 people paying 500 cedis, and you have a stadium of 10,000, everyone paying 50 cedis. Do the mathematics. You notice that the 10,000 people paying 50 cedis is easier to pay than. We can look at the dynamics like that.
But Kwame, so to comment on, you see, I'm just of the view that even if it was 1 cedi, the whole idea about paying to watch is what's going to make things difficult for people. So if you're saying that people want to be at the VVIP, if you have to pay for that, that's very fine. But the whole idea that we would overlook something like 50 cedis. 50 cedis is actually money for people in this country.
Yeah,
because you go, it's like people of all walks and classes. There are people who can make 50 cedis in life. There are people who cannot make it at all. There are people who just are even squatters but just want something for the night. So personally, I think the idea of taking off the money was a very good thing. I think it correlated. And I'm not saying you wouldn't get the numbers if you are charging for 50. You would get the numbers, but you are not going to get it as much as you did.
But let me argue this point quickly. Let me argue this point quickly. When you announced for free, you have 4x100 finals. And let's say the stadium was over full on the day at Legon. It was over full. So basically, those who came to watch the games were people who varieties of people. We had middle class income, we had lower, we had students coming to watch because see, it's injected in our blood for every student to like athletics because of how or where we went to schools. Athletics is a big thing for every Ghanaian student because in SHS we went for inter-schools games, so everyone understands the rules. It's like volleyball. Everyone understands how volleyball is played because in high school PE everyone was taught how to play volleyball. So that sync would have happened. Ask the student to pay 10 cedis, 5 cedis. Ask the middle class income guys to pay this for this amount. So we can vary it and look at ways we can earn money.
Maybe going forward we'll look at all of this, and then break it down proper. In our subsequent
You see,
shows.
I understand the point he's making across, but in conclusion, we've seen in this country where Accra has a full Great Olympics. We always start with, some people do pay. We always start with centerline fees, VIP fees. At the end of the day, we hear gates were broken down and people enter without paying. I just think it's
you
a
still get the money. We shouldn't inculcate in the fund that every time you have to go to the stadium, it's for free.
But the question is, what were we prioritizing? Were we prioritizing funds coming there in their numbers or making profit out of it? So we are able to decide that the next time as to what our priorities. If it's about making something because we've invested in it, then that will be fine. But if the main idea was, okay, people are not showing up, we need to find ways of getting people to the stadium, then not taking money was the right decision.
Maybe the next on our card would give this argument some more source or maybe energy, if you want. Amidst all of this, the Black Stars of Ghana, there were a lot of build-up to what we Ghanaians wanted to know what was happening. There's an announcement of a coach. The players were getting down to Marrakesh, to put themselves together. It was the Black Stars of Ghana against Nigeria. This would have been, this is a huge encounter on any card. Let's go for the highlights. Ghana lost though. Nigeria won by 2-1. Let's pick the highlights. When we come, there's more discussion here. maybe many positives to pick from that highlight. It's the Black Stars of Ghana versus the Super Eagles of Nigeria, a friendly encounter. We've seen that. I mean, let me start off with you, Kwame. First, it was the coach. Was the module of football we want to play? Is it we talk about the football DNA? Is it agro football? Is it early days now to even talk about that? But the Black Stars, played for me. They didn't really play well. The first half was a bit like that for me.
It's not agro football. That's Apatampa football. No, I'll be very honest. My first point of call from this game is we shouldn't have taken this game. We shouldn't have accepted this game. We shouldn't have played this game.
We needed a game at the international break.
Nigeria is a team who's not beating Ghana since 2006. I said this on the AFCON show. They've not beaten Ghana since 2006. We faced them in 2007 in a friendly. We beat them 4-1.
Yeah.
Faced them in 2008 AFCON. We beat them 2-1. Faced them in the 2010 AFCON. We beat them 1-0. Then they just ended 2 qualifiers, which ended 0-0, 1-1. It's been close to a decade. Nigeria has not beaten us. And I felt, as a country who did not like how we handled their loss to Cote d'Ivoire, did not like how we behaved as Ghanaians, they wanted to put us in their place. But that's just, and aside, that's not the real issue. You watch that football. See, I'm one of the persons who do not have so much confidence in Otuado coming back for the Black Stars or in his second stint. But that game I saw, if you watch the highlight, I don't think the highlight does a lot of justice to the game because I watched the full game. I think we actually played some good football. I don't want my words to come back to bite me, but I actually think we did play some good football.
Okay.
I think the officiating was poor that day. It was horrible. And because it's like a friendly match, we are not going to talk much about it, but the officiating was bad.
Okay.
You watch Nicolas Opoku's red card, and you can't even tell what happened. It just came from a corner, then all of a sudden there was a red card. I think maybe too because it's a friendly, there were not enough cameras to show. And yet that brings me to one point I almost forgot. The GFA, what's up with this GFA app thing? If you want to show a game for us to watch, a GFA app that people have complained about over and over, that the app doesn't work. Prior to that, my friend Fiavi was ranting on Twitter. This app has never worked. Personally, I've never used the app before.
I've used it before, though.
But I was like, if the app has never worked, it doesn't mean that tomorrow it won't work.
It has issues. It has issues.
And the app didn't work. He looked like
was
a
on YouTube.
They really need to, if you want to make money, maybe they think through the GFA app, they'll make money. Then they should be very serious with where their revenue generation is going to come from. Because at the end of the day, they had to resort to YouTube.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were gatekeeping this Ghana game, but at the end of the day, everybody had to watch it on YouTube. But even still, that brings me to the point, a game of this magnitude, it's sad that I think most Ghanaians didn't even watch it. Because, again, there was the African games, and people would rather prefer to watch people who are bringing them joy. But onto the game, I think I got a little bit of reminder of the Ghana game against South Korea in the AFCON. When prior to our goal, we were able to keep the ball for like 20, 30 passes without interruption. I saw a lot of that in this game. And Ghana's problem has always been clear. The fact that we need a lot of midfielders, or we need progressive midfielders. And the fact that a player like Fosun Amankwa, who a lot of people rightly, I'm emphasizing rightly, said we are not going with a lot of progressive midfielders. Ashimeru cannot carry on after 45 minutes. Most of the players you are sending are very defensive minded. And so players like Fosun Amankwa was dropped. And then we went with Baba Idrisu and the likes. The young boy walks into a team like this, and his performances were great. You can see the vision behind what we want to do. We want to possess the ball. Atizigi wants to play the ball from the back. And then you ask questions again. What were some of the decisions that were going in during the previous times? How was Ofori getting ahead of Atizigi? Are we really serious as a national team? Like, do we really want to get a utility out of our national team? So I think one thing I picked up from that game is Otuado has been watching the Black Stars. Otuado has learned and he has seen. My problem currently is Otuado has shown...
Maybe you have to end for me on that. Yeah. Then we'll go on a break. We'll come back and come back to you for that.
Let me just end it here. My problem has always been consistency. Because one time, Otuado will be playing succulent, sweet football like this.
True.
Because we're playing 10 against 11 in the second half. That's how the goal came. Because we were really putting pressure on them. And then they just hit us on the counter. 10 against 11, you can't do anything about. It's the consistency. Because Otuado gives us these performances and then goes downhill in other performances. If we can be able to maintain that consistency. And Antoine Semenyo, he's going to be under radar very soon. People are going to talk about him very soon. So those are some of the things I picked up. And I think we can work from that. Next game is against Uganda. And then from there, we would see our qualifiers against Mali.
This is Scorecard on Citi TV. We need to go for this break. When we return, I'll come to Yao. Yao he will be having his bit on the Black Stars Nigeria game. There's a lot we need to do. Let's go for this quick break. There's a lot of messages that I'm also seeing. People are calling the Black Stars Aboniki Black Stars. Let's go for this break. When we return, there's more. Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Citi TV. I am Bernard Abeko-Ochre. I'm in the studios with Yao and, of course, Kwame. There's a lot more that Yao would have a bit on the Black Stars as well. But when we went on the break, there was a lot of discussion in the studio whether Otuado can do this job, and these gentlemen have different opinions. I'll get to find out, but a few messages here. I mean, the numbers will be on our screen, so kindly send in your message using that contact on the screen. Eka from Dansoman says, "Fine evening, Bernard and Citi TV Sports team, please. What are the prize monies for gold, silver, and bronze in the just ended 13th African Games? I want to start calculating the money Ghana made from the games." So my producer will be working on that. He'll let me know then. Of course, we'll talk about that also. This one also reads, "Hi, good evening. My name is Dochi Van Bright Dangote from Volta Region Ho. I think the Black Stars are just wasting our time. Even the girls' team can beat them," he says. Aboniki Black Stars. This one also reads, "I totally agree with the gentleman in white." Okay, that's Kwame on the Black Stars. So that's from Nete Dread in Ho. This one also says, "Hello, good evening, guys. To be frank, I didn't even know the Black Stars has gotten a new coach, let alone playing a friendly game against a bitter rival on the African continent. Black Stars, Panye." I'm able minister from Cove City. I think the last one I come to you. "Sometimes the only way to win is not to play the game. Hey, Black Stars, better luck next time." That's what Edem also sent on our WhatsApp line, which is on your screens from Not Kaneshi. Back to what we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah.
Otuado. You had an argument when we went on break. Can he do this job, the Black Stars job, from what you saw in the Nigerian friendly?
Yeah, I think he can. And I'll go beyond what I saw in the Ghana versus Nigeria game. I think we've seen him play 3 Ghana versus Nigeria games, and for me, his dexterity when it comes to tactics.
Oh, okay.
When there are issues, Otto can find solutions within the game. And he accepts the fact that, well, I made an error. Let me correct it. Some managers will wait on, and the team will lose. But Otto will find solutions and say, okay, I found this problem, I fixed it. That's the manager that the Black Stars have now. And Otto is hungry. Otto has new ideas that he wants, very distant ideas from what we've seen from the last managers.
But where is this belief emanating from? Because Ghanaians, and I'll come to you, Kwame, but yeah, all of a sudden, I went on the street on the day of his appointment trying to find out, from Ghanaians, if they think he's the right man for the job. And to my amazement, people were like, oh, they feel the first time he didn't have the best of show, and this is an opportunity to give him time and what have you. Yeah,
so we know Otto trained through the German system from grassroots, came to play for the Black Stars in 2006, had an opportunity as a talent coach. And if you ask anyone in Ghana what the Black Stars need, they'll tell you they need someone who understands the young boys and will be willing to play the young boys. Allow them to risk.
But you see, Otto is not the kind. I think this is where the problem is stemming from, why people do not like Otto. I don't think it's Otto as a person, because I think Otto as a person is a very fine gentleman. It's more of Otto's affiliation and the fact that Otto seems to come out as this Kurt's darling boy. Kurt can move to Ghana, try to convince Otto in Germany that he needs him in the job. So I think that's the problem, because the FA themselves, do not have the best of reputation with them. So Otto seems like, oh, he's the coach that can be pushed around by the FA. people would have preferred a coach
to this. I think I did an interview with Otto a couple of months back, and a lot of backstories on it. Though I didn't publish the interview anyway. One thing that happened in
the FA told you not to publish?
No.
Okay.
It was my personal choice not to. So one thing that happened at the World Cup is Otto didn't pick the decision alone. It wasn't on the FA members, not for Otto to make the decisions alone. It was Otto's decision to include Chris Hughton, to include George Boateng, and whoever was around him within the technical body to make the final decisions. So it wasn't Otto, Webohade. No, it was a teamwork that Otto decided, let's go this way. So, so in our last game, how do we approach the game? So Chris brings his idea, there is this manager that brings his idea, this brings his man, and they make their decision alone, like together. So it wasn't too much of Otto's, no. Otto was then an interim coach. So he understood the dynamics at that time. And now it's different. Now he's the man. He got to choose whoever is in his backroom staff. He got to do it.
I'm not here to do Otuado PR. Okay. Because I have said that. I'm not really that impressed with Otuado's appointment. I'm just trying to give you the rationale as to why Ghanaians are not that impressed. If you say Otuado, most Ghanaians' idea of him or belief of him or the first thought that will come is the World Cup.
Yeah, Ghana,
it's because we are football guys, so we've been following. And even with his record was not that impressive.
33% win rate.
33% win rate. It wasn't that impressive.
So within the 33% win rate, we could argue that is actually 42%, which places him.
I think that's if you add the
competitive game. Yes, so competitive game to include the penalty shootout.
Absolutely.
So that increases it from 33% to 42%. So it depends on which angle you want to argue at. But I think he did fairly good compared to the managers.
Exactly, and this brings me to my point about who I'm about to see. Who are the managers we are comparing Otuado with?
Milovan Rajevac, Chris Hughton.
Citi Akono. These are the comparison. The bar must be in hell. This is the Black Stars, the Ghana national team. Black Stars.
Who should we be comparing him with?
How did we allow and you see, Nathan and I sat here, we spoke about this on the AFCON Daily Show. How do we allow a coach like Tom Saintfiet go to Philippines? No disrespect to Philippines, but that's a good coach we watched go to Philippines. Amir Abdul. And you see, he is a coach who has shown that he relies on attacking prowess.
True.
I'm sick and tired of Black Stars being this Yebebo football, Akomayarian football. We are defending football.
But Otto plays some exciting
Otto is a
football.
defensive coach. Let's be very honest.
But on the break, we saw from
and
that
even
goal.
at the defensive, we don't do well. And that's why I keep on saying,
then again, they defended that it was with the injury situation.
My dear, when we went to the World Cup, we considered 3, 2 to 7 goals in 3 games. Most goals coming in very, very quick succession.
Yeah, because we opened up,
You are supposed to be a defensively minded coach and you are not good defensively. And you see, I think that's where the skepticism of Otto comes from. That, I've said it again, he can give us a good branded football when he wants. But what is supposed to be his trademark, which is defensive football, we are not that great at it.
The football DNA, you come back to the DNA.
Oh, this DNA.
Well, I wouldn't define Otto's style as defensive. Okay. I'll put it more as counter-attacking football, or maybe the German style. That's how I'll put it, because I've seen them play in a certain way that is quite similar to what I've seen the Dortmund academies do. And it's quite typical with them. Get the ball, 1, 2, 3 transitions. You're in the opposition box. Find an attacker and finish the ball.
Interestingly, we'll talk more about this. I mean, the Black Stars, as you know, Otto is having 3 years on contract, and I want to also hear from you. The numbers are on the screen. Then we can pick few messages, go on a break, and then return. Come talk about what we also saw in the European front. This one says, please say good evening. How many medals did Ghana win? Okay, so I'll get that for you. We won 68 medals, so that's it. Hello, Bernard. It looks like Yao has been appointed as the PR for Otuado. Thought the FA said they needed a coach with 15 years of experience. Does the current coach of the Black Stars have that kind of experience? No. That's a direct answer. What happened to our Serbian coaches? We used to go in for We did great under them. That's true, though. Okay, so Able, Minister from Citi, brought that one in. This is from Eddie from Ningo Prampram. Says, good evening, guys. Great show, as always. I think the Ghana Football Association's DNA is beginning to pop up. Oh, okay. I watched the game and trust me, even with the new players on board, they played very well. Let's give them a bit of time, he says. They played very well. So that's what Eddie brought in. You can also send your messages in, and we'll be reading them on the show for you. There's a scorecard on Citi TV. Let's go for this quick commercial break. When we return, there's a lot more of the highlights and the discussions here on your screens. Welcome back. This is Scorecard on Citi TV. And of course, my guys have been in the studios to still continue the Black Stars argument. But we have to move on to another important matter. So, Hendrick was at Wembley and he decided to pull a trick to shock the English national team. Let's go for the highlights. It was England up against Brazil. Brazil won by a goal to 0. Let's pick the highlights. We'll be back to discuss that. So welcome back from the highlights. We saw, for me, I don't think it's game over for Southgate. I mean, to see England play like this is quite interesting. Of course, with the score that they have, it makes it much more important for him to stay on. But there's a message that I saw before, whilst the highlight was rolling. And I want to clear that, then we'll get into the game and the discussion. This one says, good evening, guys. This is Reggie from Osu. I think Desmond Offer should have been part of the Black Stars coaching team. That's surprising. Wow, it's too early. You asked me, though. But this also reads high. I'm Pello from Tech. Otoado is a defensive coach, and he's not fit for the job, period, he says. If it was Otto, I wouldn't even come and coach. If I was Otto, I wouldn't even come and coach the Black Stars. That's what Ishmael brought in from Tantra Hills. But we'll post on the Black Stars matter. Another day we'll be talking, deep on. We wouldn't give Otto time. There's another friendly, up for grabs, and we'll come and talk about that. But we saw England at the Wembley against Brazil, and for me, that chap is indeed young, because you should have just scored the second goal.
I think Hendrick has the qualities, but he will need time. Given the fact that the Brazil national team even calls him up to the team, it's a good thing for him. I think that's one of the things that Brazil does different from other countries. If you are very young and you are touted as maybe the next Pele, maybe the next Ronaldinho, they give you the opportunity to come and play with the big guys. And the big guys themselves help you and initiate you into the national team. That's one thing Brazil does better than all the other countries. But I think that second opportunity that fell to him, he should have buried it. I think Brazil themselves are in a transitional stage. They know they have to rebuild ahead of the Copa America. So the games like this starts off for them. They have a new manager who has come in, who is going to do something different from what they've seen under Denise. And given the fact that also they didn't get Carlo Ancelotti into the side, I think he was the man they wanted. They felt, well, either you get Pep Guardiola or Ancelotti, they can really do the job for us. But Ancelotti wasn't ready to leave Real Madrid. Ancelotti loved Madrid, no doubt about it. Until Madrid says, Ancelotti, thank you, he's not leaving. That's the thing. And so they had to rely on the Sao Paulo manager, who understands the Brazilian style, still kept to the Brazilian style. 4-3-1 their formation, and I think the guys will come good, especially if the big boys come back from injury.
If I would sound a warning to Brazilians, I don't think they should go for Ancelotti.
Why?
I think what they are doing now, they are moving away from a system where the Brazilian national team was dominated by names and flair too, hard workers.
Was it?
No, I think you watch the World Cup, there's just this whole spotlight on Neymar, this Samba football, they were flashy. I didn't see a Brazilian team that was flashy yesterday.
For Neymar, he's a businessman.
No, because you take a player like João Gomes from Wolves, then you pair him up with Bruno Guimaraes, Lucas Paqueta.
Yeah.
I didn't expect their midfield to be that formidable, but you could feel a team that's working for each other.
True.
They defend together, they attack together. And I'm shocked at Vinicius Junior's growth, because yesterday he literally, and I would juxtapose that to Mbappe's performance, how Vinicius varied from Mbappe's performance. Because if you watch Mbappe against Germany, it's like he carried the whole team It's like everything was about Mbappe. But yesterday, the front three, it wasn't just about Vinicius. It was about Rodrigo. It was about Endrick. It was about Paqueta coming from the midfield to help.
Behind too.
And the call-up of the boys in Porto who were doing well, using... I feel like what this Brazilian team needs is just one or two of their star players in there, and then they'll be good to go. Let's not forget, in as much as there's the Euros, there's the Copa America also going to go on this season. And like he said, like I've said, they are going through a transitional period, and if they work on this and move away from this flashy Brazilian team we've known to this great hard-working team like we saw, because England was supposed to be them. On paper, England had the better team, but then they were able to do very well against them.
Well, you mentioned France, Germany. I want us to have a glimpse of the highlights as well. Then we'll come back to the studio to discuss that. Well, these are the kind of games, or maybe this is the kind of game I always love to watch. There are names and there's some bit of quality football exhibited. But there's someone who was trying to find out, the gold medals, silver and bronze, what you get in terms of, the monetary value when you put that together. So for gold it's $3,000, silver is $2,000, then bronze is $1,000. So that's it. A few messages, then we'll come talk about that. We must sack Otuado immediately and force Ket Okraku and his team to resign. We are not angry enough. Otuado again, very soon we will all support different countries in Africa. Ket Okraku has destroyed our game. He's the worst GFA president for me. The politicians must not shield him. He must leave now. Black Stars participating in major tournament is something else. Or their participation in major tournament is something else. Great show. Good evening. That's James. Evans from Spintex also brought this one. He says, I really like the closing ceremony of the African Games. Please, when is Ghana Black Stars playing a football match? So that's against Uganda 4 days after the game against Nigeria. So that's that's Tuesday, on Tuesday. All right, so that's it for the Black Stars. But, I mean, let's get into it. We saw France up against Germany. That was a beauty. I mean, when we talk about football and its beauty, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, great spectacle. Two teams that have different, distinct styles. For the Germans, they have a new manager, Nagelsmann, coming in from Bayern Munich. Yeah. Amidst all the politics that are happening in Germany. And then you have Didier Deschamps, the everlasting Deschamps, stayed with them for a long period of time. Everyone felt, at point, he's going down.
Though. I admire him a lot.
He knows the job.
Admire him. These are the managers you have to pay to do the job.
Yeah, so, well, whether political or if he needs you, he'll call you up. Yeah. If he needs you in the team, if he needs the team, if he needs to twist something in the team,
if he needs to sack you, he will sack you.
Oh yes, he will do it. Deschamps, that guy, he basically has won everything as a player. Becomes a manager and is winning everything. So the psyche is there. I have won it as a player myself. And coming back to the German national team, the Germans know they need to rebuild. Nagelsmann has a very distinct style, like a 3-back, but the German system does not exactly allow him to play the way he wants to play. Struggled with that particular formation, even though in certain points they were winning at Bayern before eventually politics had him out of the national team. But to see Kai Havertz, Florian Wirtz, what a player! Goodness gracious me! Challenge.
Sweet football. I mean, what's your general impression about that? We need to
managerial changes. You see, the role of a coach or a manager does not need to be understated. This was a team that was horrible under Hansi Flick. They lost, I think, 6 to Spain.
You see, the thing is, Bayern struggled a bit under Nagelsmann.
No, but you see, I
don't
think
Flick was so good with Bayern.
Yeah, I don't think Nagelsmann was a total failure, because when Nagelsmann was being sacked from Bayern were top of the league. You see, if you want to go into the Nagelsmann drama, you see, they call Bayern FC Hollywood for a reason. But that aside, I feel like the reason I'm saying managerial changes does a lot is his ability to call a player like Toni Kroos back into the midfield, because the midfield was Kimmich, Goretzka, Gundogan. This, on paper, is a very good midfield, but nothing was working for them. What do? Tuchel has already introduced the system whereby Kimmich is playing right back. So when Kimmich comes into the German national, I don't think he's that happy about it. but he's playing right back. And now the midfield is Cruz, Gundogan, Jamal Musiala. And and now he has Florian Wirtz. He's capitalizing on the renaissance of Bayer Leverkusen. That's why in club level, you have to prioritize players coming from your national league doing well, because I feel like the Germans' renaissance is going to be built on Tah, who is doing so well at Leverkusen, and Florian Wirtz, who has found his form too in Leverkusen. I think Nagelsmann is tapping in that. So it's not about names. That's the one big thing I've picked about the international break. Not about names.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. We need to stop here. Thank you, Jan Pofu. Jan Pofu is a sports analyst. And, of course, Safo Kwame Ohineba Esquire, a lawyer, a football lover, a YouTuber. I am Bernard Abeko. We'll come your way next week again to talk about a lot of footballing stuff on the show. The name is Scorecard. Put it on your schedule. We'll meet you next week. Sports. It's live. You certainly have to be involved. So while we're talking about a number of issues, the African Games as well. We'll see you, God willing, next week. Sports is live. You get involved.